clap. Go for it.
Gotta wait till it starts. I have such a good mic now. I think it mutes my clap, right? Like, did anybody hear that besides
No.
Todd?
No,
All
we
right.
cannot.
I heard it. It fires me up. People ask me why I do that, and it really is for myself. Like I don't know, my 20s, I went to a Tony Robbins event where you walked on fire and then you had a power move. And my power move was like that. And so when I started creating content and started doing video, like I needed it, and now it's just become a habit. So in case anyone was wondering. So 7 years of doing this Friday Mastermind.
Yes.
How many times do you think we've been in person?
Oh, a couple dozen maybe, but not a ton.
But it's special stuff.
Yeah, considering how many we've done it, maybe twice, two to four times a year.
2 to 4 times a year.
You guys are so cute right next to each other, having that little bromance. I love it.
It's fun. It is fun. I feel I'm sorry you're left out, Deborah. It's only better when we're all sitting in some hotel room after an event and we're all trying to squeeze in together. It's hard enough for the two of us to squeeze in. So
I like to keep it weird, so the weirdness isn't there with you all today, but I'm here virtually.
Yeah, well, it's good.
Exactly.
It's good to be virtually. So, but think about that: 2 to 4 times that we do this, 52 times a year. Although each of us miss a few days, so we're doing this at least 45 times a year, and this is a special day. So, and also it's a really special podcast. It's a little more freestyle than we typically do. Our special guest, Brian Covey, will be here soon, but we're going to talk about exactly what's most important right now in this market. And we're going to do it around takeaways from the Forward event. So before we introduce Brian and we get into it, anything you want to say to frame the call?
Well, I wasn't at the Forward event, but I heard lots of great things about it. So I'm looking forward to coming at it from the outsider perspective, right? Since the three of you were all there, and I saw, thanks to Deborah and Jack Savage, I got notes and got to have some insight from people's notes of what they took away. So I'm excited about that part. Announcement wise, we leaked out, we weren't going to leak it out till next week, but you guys will be the first to know after the first Home IQ audience, is that Scriptapalooza 2024 is officially going to be in a month about. In fact, what's today's date? You don't have a calendar.
It's the 19th.
So it is exactly 1 month from today. It is on the 19th of August. It's a Monday from 11 to 1 Pacific time. We're going for 2 hours this year. We have Phil Jones on as our co-host again. We're running a little slightly different format than we've run in the past, with some feedback from all of you and from Phil. And if you go to winbynoon.com/scripts with an S on the end, scripts, that is where you can register. Spoiler alert, Phil's having us do it webinar style. So we're going to have 1,000 people, hopefully with most of you with cameras on, and that's going to be, we've never run it that way before, and it's going to be 1,000. Unfortunately, not everyone's going to get in because that's the most that Zoom will put on a webinar. And we had more than 1,000 on, in a meeting. We had more than 1,000 on Zoom webinar last year, but we're going to be at 1,000 on Zoom meeting this year. So I'm super stoked for that. Looking forward to seeing you all there. And that's probably my big announcement of the day.
Good. Well, we put a link in chat. Actually, I'm going to show it on my screen.
I'm at the Savage Cafe, by the way. Listen.
Real quick, because this was Phil Jones had recommended, instead of having, I think we've had like 12-ish people.
Yeah, we went 3 hours last year.
Yeah, we went 3 hours. He said, you know what, let's come in with really specific conversations that matter most in this market. And so we're going to have 6, and we're going to have 6 people, leaders in the industry, all incredible influencers, all incredible with words, all extremely successful. And each one of them for 15 minutes is going to cover one of the 6, being facilitated by Phil Jones, the author of Exactly What to Say. And then Todd and I will be his wingman. So do get signed up. It would be great. We're not going to start sending out lots of emails till next week and promoting it. It would be good to know how many people are influenced from this event, this call. So sign up today, like get in there. I would love to check in an hour and see how many people that were live on this call signed up. Check it out. Deborah, anything you want to say to frame the call before we introduce our special guest?
Well, just what a perfect I was wondering when you guys were going to do this, because usually it's around like March, April. And for a lot of people who were at the Forward event, they had the opportunity to hear Phil Jones speak. And for some, it was their very first time. And with today's title and message about what matters most right now in this market, I would argue that our words and the words that we choose and how we communicate is probably the most important aspect for any market. How we communicate with ourselves, how we communicate with our teammates, our underwriters, our processors, the title reps. I mean, communication with partners, with borrowers, that in itself, if we just leveled up our quality conversations, imagine what that would compound over time in just a year. So I would highly recommend that you guys join that call. It sounds like you guys have already found, the most critical conversations that we're having on repeat, that you're going to give us the playbook and these awesome speakers who are willing to share how they articulate, those conversations will create huge momentum for those who choose to show up.
Well, and I would say we don't know if we have the 6 most important conversations for right now. So all of you be on the lookout. We're going to be publishing a survey. And so we would love you to all add any conversations that you feel are critical. If you're watching this now live in Zoom, go ahead and we'd love you to put what you think is a critical conversation right now to throw it in the chat. And we're going to seek feedback between now and then, because I do feel like, we think we've got a pretty good idea of what those top conversations are. But when Dave, Chris, and I were prepping for it yesterday, we realized that we got to make sure we really nail this for all of you.
Yeah, and also want to give credit, shout out to Denise Donahue. It was really her idea that inspired that. When Denise said that she was going to do it, the way I've done it in the past is I go to the speakers and I go, well, what do you think is the most critical conversation to have? And tell me, and that would be your headline. And she goes, well, when I start promoting it, like once you guys start promoting it, I'm going to start promoting it and ask my community, the people that follow me, what I should talk about. And so I'm like, ooh, that's a good idea. So Nerd, thank you for that. We are we did in the marketing put some questions because we just wanted to here's what we think some of them are. Jim just said how to more effectively cold call agents. Jim, that is absolutely in there. Although I like the way you worded it. I think the way we have it now is how to get meetings with realtors. And I think the way you worded it is better. So thank you for that. If anybody else has something, do that. So guys, before I introduce our special guest, one of the things we do, and you'll notice in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, every thumbnail image is different. And one of my takeaways from this event, although I've kind of known this, thumbnail matters, but Hermosi, did I say his name right?
Hermosi, yep.
Alex Hermosi, who's just a complete badass. He was was not in the marketing of the event. He was a special surprise, and the guy absolutely killed it. But when he was kind of breaking down his code, he made mention that thumbnails matter. So we did not have our special guest at the beginning of this because he has a PC and he had to reboot it. So
Wow.
Shout out if you want to upgrade to an Apple. That would never happen. Brian, before I give you the first introduction, we always do something with our hands and make a smile, and then Paul's going to take a thumbnail. Do you mind doing that real quick? Let's all do it again.
In 3, 2, 1. Perfect.
So guys, that's how it's done, by the way, in our lab.
And I had to do a fist pump. I'm normally this, but since I'm here side by side, I had to go in.
Yeah, and we usually do that before we go live, but because our guy has a PC and he was late, we had to
listen. You can't help it. There's a worldwide outage, right? I mean, people are having to postpone surgery and flights.
All right, so this guest I have had on the channel before. I have created some content before. He's a leader. He's an executive. So he's a C-suite leader. I first met this guy when he was leading a very fast growth, profitable region for a top 10 lender. And he just stood out. His leadership style stood out. Not only how he communicated with his team as a leader. I've actually had the honor of speaking in a small group format where he invited me out to Nashville to speak to his group. Before the mortgage business, he was a professional soccer player, a goalie. So, I mean, anybody knows if you're a goalie playing any type of sport, whether it's professional or even, juniors, it takes a special type of human being. He's been kicking ass on social media for a long time. I mean, he came in, I don't know exactly how many followers he had on Instagram when he got into business. Maybe we'll ask him that, but he's got over 100,000 followers. They're like legit followers. These are not paid for followers. These are people that just truly see leadership and value. He was at this event. He was taking copious notes. I was actually preparing some social media content on key takeaways. So I was like, who should I ask what their takeaways were? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to ask Brian Covey. And by the way, that's who our special guest is, Brian Covey. And what he told me, like we did a little voice memo back and forth, and I was like, oh, I want to spend a whole hour with this guy. So Brian Covey, welcome to the Friday Mastermind. It's good to have you, brother.
What's up, guys, man? And I will take the heat because I did a little mid-morning workout instead. Our son went to camp. My wife's out of town with a girls trip. So yeah, Friday for me looks a little different today. If anybody can relate to that of trying to get this, trying to get that. And Dave, I do have a Mac, just so you know, it's just not plugged into all my fancy camera stuff.
Oh, but you had to reboot it. You had to reboot a Mac?
I legit did. Yeah, I have this nice Mac here, but I had to reboot this morning. So
okay,
great way
sorry
for all of us
you as a
to
PC.
connect. It's just like life, you know, like you show up and you think this is your plan, and then you get dealt this other set of cards and you go, cool, how am I going to adapt, adjust, and execute in that? And what a great framework for what we're dealing with right now in the second half of 2024.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, I broke one of the 4 agreements. I made an assumption. So want to own that. But anyways.
I don't hold it against you, right? I mean, yeah, great book, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's one of the best. I had a little voice memo and a video back and forth with Jeremy Forcier and I today, and the 4 agreements was a topic. And not to make assumptions, and here I am making an assumption. All right, so first of all, let's talk about Forward. And for the people that went there, you know, let's just go around, you, me, Deb, on what we liked about it. And then let's each go around. And I say we try to hit our biggest takeaways first. Let's not save our biggest gold for the last. Like, let's go around, and then Todd, you be like Mr. Win by Noon.
Gold though. I mean, save us some gold.
Oh, I mean, guys, we could go for 5 hours and it would be gold. Like there was so much takeaways. Some were reminders, some were new ideas. So first of all, what did you think of the event, and you know, what do you like about it? What do you say to loan officers watching this?
So I've been coming back, Dave. We were doing the voice memo, and by the way, I've had lots of conversations with, you know, in my world, I talk to a lot of people either within Revolution Mortgage or they're in other mortgage companies, even real estate agents. I was talking to some EXP teams this week that were not there, and some of the teams with Real, you know, obviously they were represented pretty heavily. And I was sharing the things I had. The one I'm going to start with, Dave, this one for me framed up the whole weekend. Although we know we had a lot of personal branding stuff. We talked about marketing. We talked about tactics, which we'll share. I think we're in a space, all of us today. Trent Shelton shared something that stuck with me. And it was protect your perspective. Protect your perspective. How many times have you caught yourself? And I'm guilty of this. My perspective is shaped by what's going on right now in the news, politics, the media giving us negative things about what's happening in housing. We're hearing all the things, well, you know, rates are just high, lack of inventory, all the things we have. And our perspective very quickly gets shifted into the negative. We come up with all the reasons now why we're not successful, why someone else might be more successful, why we can't do this, why our production down, why our income's down, why life is just hard. And when Trent shared that, it hit me. Because how many times have I let my perspective shift because of one incident, one comment? Something doesn't go the way you want that day, right? A customer doesn't give you the documents they promised they would give you. An agent doesn't follow up like they said they would. And when you protect your perspective, you actually take back control, and you control the narrative and the story in which you get to live your life and create what I believe is the life that you were designed to live. And now when you take ownership, you're able to be the problem solver. You think clear, you come up with solutions. People are attracted to you. They're not repelled, because who wants to talk to somebody else that's negative? So I'm landing the plane on protect your perspective, which leads to what Trent had on his shirt, is protecting your peace. And I think today, peace cannot be bought. It can't be sold. You have to really work hard and do that inner work and control it, which, by the way, when you have that, that's going to make you more attractive to referral partners and customers and everyone that you're around. And you're going to live a more fulfilled life no matter what comes your way.
Love that. Deborah, anything you want to add to that? Or
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I wrote that down as well, and I added to something else that he said is that your perspective can either be your prison or your power. The choice is yours. So, are you gonna choose to see the good in a bad situation? And then he also had said basically that, the real wealth, that financial freedom doesn't mean you're free, and true wealth is peace. So I loved Trent. And for those of you who've never heard of Trent Shelton, he was a former NFL football player who now has a book and is speaking on stages. And he's phenomenal.
Yeah, that would be an understatement. I mean, he was insane. Like I had never heard him either. Just the way he delivered his presentation was completely next level. I've got this personal code. I was actually just pulling it up. Let me see how many items I have in my personal code. 30. So I've got 30 kind of keys to like a personal code. And number 2 is get better, never bitter. And it's a lot easier said than done to live a life of just always getting better and never bitter. Like that's easier said than done. But when you said that, I was like, protecting your perspective is like a cornerstone to that. Like if you can't do that, let's face it, you're gonna get a little bitter. And I think in a market like the one we have right now, there are people that are getting bitter. And then, I don't know how many people on this call, are you really getting better? Like, are you getting better at the skills required in the marketplace today, in the marketplace going forward? It would be some thoughts. Coach?
Well, I was just blown away by the Dave Savage personal code. Because I'm standing here.
Had you never done that?
We've talked about it before, but it just was out of my mind. But I love that because it's, I've got a life plan, right? So I've got a written document about my life, and it does have some things in there. But the fact that you've got 30 different tenets that are important to you personally, that you want to make sure you pass on to others, including your children, is pretty impactful. So I would just encourage you all to think about that. Or what are some of the tenets that you live by that you now maybe can capture in writing in a document somewhere? Yours is a Google Doc, so it's but that's mind blowing, dude. That's super cool. And I think as you hear these kinds of things, right, you could take that, right? I mean, like I actually love that protect your perspective. I'm gonna journal on that and think on it, and I feel like it's a great opportunity for us all to work on getting better ourselves, because I think when you spend time on these things and you don't just think about it, because I think about these things a lot, but I think the putting it in writing piece and memorializing it, and then talk to other people about it, the people that matter. If you got kids, that's a great place to impart it. I think for me, it's have the conversation with my wife first and then bring it to the children. That's what we've done. But that was super cool. So I think that was a great way for you to bring what Brian and Deb were talking about and bring it back to the crowd.
Well, we just always need reminders. By the way, I just started that personal code. I don't know. I think it was the last week of May. My son was going to graduate from college, and I was going to write I was going to spend like an hour and write him a note that I knew he would read. Like when your kid graduates from college, it's a big deal, and I knew whatever I would write, he would read and really think about. And then next thing you know, I'm like, oh, an hour, I'm 2 hours. And then I'm like, I'm going to watch some commencement speeches, and I think I invested 20 to 30 hours. And then I also decided, you know what, I'm going to write it for my daughter too. Like, she's not graduating, but now I got to write it for my kids. And by the way, my one piece of advice to him was have a code, document your code. And then the way I did it, instead of giving him advice, I said, this is my code. This is my code. So I'll lead by example. I'll think about sharing that. I'll have to edit and create a version to share, because like I said, I wrote it to my kids. So I'll make a version that's just a copy that I'll share with some you guys maybe next week or something.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I've got rules around money that I published for my kids, when you get a gift card, spend it before you lose it, kind of stuff. But that's way more.
I can do that.
That's way more.
Doesn't everybody do that? No, it's like, yeah. All right, so let's get back on. So one, I just also want to say, guys, this is a must-attend event for growth-minded, modern mortgage professionals. Todd and I, we've done what, 7 modern mortgage and modern real estate summits?
I think, yeah, between both of them when they were separate events.
Yeah,
Five years we've done it, and we did 2 separate modern real estate summits.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and so if you're listening to this and you want to be modern, like this is a cornerstone event. It's a must attend. We'll put a link to sign up for next year. I think they have a website and they're taking signups for next year. I will definitely be attending it. And I actually, who knows, Neil may stop by. I told him we were going to be doing a little bit of a debrief on his event, and we may get one of the 2 founders in here. I don't know. I literally told them this morning, so I don't know if they could do it. But guys, this was a must attend event. There was a lot of realtors. I'd say at least 30% were realtors, right? Like there was a lot of
Felt
real
like
estate
it.
agents.
Yeah, Real and EXP and some, they were definitely present and the top ones.
Yeah. Hey, Deb, real quick, what was your number 1 takeaway? We got Brian's, the first thing he shared. What did you have?
Mine was the deeper the mission, the stronger the action, which was also from Trent. And so I feel like there's a lot of people who he talked about, are you interested or committed? And so if you haven't truly identified the deeper rooted purpose and mission that allows, that's like your guiding force, even when you're not in the mood, it's being loyal to the promise. If you don't have that clear, it is easy to take small actions or inconsistent actions. And so sometimes this requires a coach, a mentor, a regional manager, someone to help you pull out deep. And it's not usually external things, not things that you buy. And he talks about things you buy, they also die when you die. So learning what the deeper calling is for you, and knowing that there's somebody out there, even if it's just one person, that is meant to hear your message, that they don't want to hear it from Brian. They don't want to hear it from Dave or Todd or me. They want to hear it from you. Like, you're meant to lead and inspire these people if you're bold and give yourself permission to share it. And so we've got to get in alignment with the deeper mission to take stronger action.
I love that. I love that. So, I mean, I had so many takeaways, but just the importance of your personal brand hit me at a new level. I mean, I've been creating social media content for a long time, and I do think I have been intentional about who I am and how I'm perceived in the market. I try to be people that like social media for value. Like, how can I be valuable on social media? But it hit me at a whole new level of putting importance and intentionality. A couple notes, Phil Jones, and I can't remember what I learned from stage and what I learned at dinner meetings and conversations in the hallway. I just know under Phil Jones, your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. One word can change everything. Like, that was just such a huge takeaway. I don't know if it was Alex or who talked about it, but it was Alex, where he talked about your brand is also about what you're not. Like, be really thoughtful about who you're not, who you don't like. You won't see me talking about politics on social media, and typically I won't even regardless of whether I like the political commentary online or not. Like, I'm just not about politics on social media, and doesn't mean I don't have opinions. It's just not the brand that I want to have in the marketplace. So anyways, that was a thought on that. So guys, we're almost, this is going so fast. Brian, let's unpack, just takeaways. And then I also want to unpack how you went to that event, how you took notes, and what actions you're taking. So why don't you just kind of, that voice memo going back and forth, unpack that real quick for us, and then we'll all give feedback on it.
Cool. Well, let's piggyback on what Deborah just shared and what you shared, because I think this will give people some framework, but also give you the right mindset as we move forward. And the personal brand piece, you can no longer ignore the through line between Gary V, Hormozy, Rory kicking it off, Jamie Kern Lima coming up there, Phil Jones coming up there, right? Like, all of these people were talking about your personal brand. Rory shares it in a way I want to give to you guys as a gift, because we work with brand builders and Rory, so I had a fortunate ability to go, look, he's been teaching me this. You'll see it in my content and people that work with them. And so one of the things he said was, your personal brand is the digitization of your reputation. Your personal brand is the digitization, meaning online, what you post, how you show up. That's how people know and talk about you when you're not in the room. What do they say? And you control the narrative, both what you're for and what you're against. That was huge. The other piece that really resonated with me that Rory shared, was a through line, is when we are service-centered over self-centered. And how many times do we take the post or the conversation, or we're doing a presentation with a realtor? You know, we had a comment earlier, you know, we're cold calling a realtor. How many times are we doing that it's self-centered? We want an appointment, we want a referral, we want a deal, we want to get paid. Call it what it is. We've all been in that mindset. When we're service-centered, our personal brand does not become about us, it becomes out the people that we serve. And the best quote, you'll hear me say this, like Ed Milet shares it, Rory shares it, is, for each of us, we need to identify this. Today, if you were to take one thing away from me, this would be the one thing I would say, take this away, is the person that you're most powerfully positioned to serve is the person you once were. I'll say that again. You're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. In our industry, we've all been through a lot of stuff, right? We have experiences, we have things we've been through, whether we're working with somebody buying their first home, their second home, they're moving, they're scared across the country, single mom, single dad, whatever it is, we're helping someone. And you think about who are the people that you're able to serve, and those buyers and those clients and referral partners that you might just been through a little bit more experience, and you can help them. So I love that. This is where, Dave, I'll tell you what you do is exceptionally well in the community is this is one I'm working on myself, is people don't pay for information. People pay for the organization and the application of that information. And so I want all of you to think about today, people don't pay for the information you share. You share rates, you share there's a program out there, you share all these great things. It's information. But information overload is really kind of the status quo of our society. Like, I don't know about you, but I feel like I can go on and I am like information download, overload, everything is everywhere. And what we need to think about is, what's the application of that today? Like, if I'm listening to your content and I'm your target audience, you give me a piece of information about where the market is, how do I go apply that? What is the next step for me? And they want organized information, meaning here's step one, here's step two, here's step three, right? That's how the brain works. And so as you start to post this and you want to move into the educational world, think about how you're helping people organize it and actually apply it. And I think those frameworks, I want to share those first, because if you can get those right, you're going to outperform 80, 90% of your competition, by the way. And I look at other people in our world, what their content is, and some of it doesn't meet those metrics yet today. But if you look at the elite that are doing it, like I'd put Neil out there who did the event last week, his content resonates. He's getting leads. And there's a lot of you I know on the call doing it. So Dave, I wanted to start with that. I don't know if that resonates with you. Todd, you weren't there. Deborah, but those were frameworks for me of we can operate from frameworks and beliefs, and then I can give you some tactics.
Wow, those were some really good frameworks. So we're going to do a round with Todd, Deborah, myself, giving feedback on that. But something I want you to prepare mentally for once we go through that is I want you to share, like, what did you do? You took notes. What was your process post-event? And then I want to know, don't answer yet, but just be ready. What are you doing differently? Like, what have you taken action on since you were at that event? So we'll come back to you on that. Deborah, anything you want to pile on there or you want to call out on?
So the irony is I just posted this yesterday, but I elaborated off the personal brand because it's something that I had always struggled with. I've talked about before, when you have an identical twin and you guys both do the same thing at one point in time, and she's a local celebrity and you look just alike, you sound alike, same company, same products. Probably how a lot of loan officers and agents feel today. It's like, how do you differentiate? Like, why me? And I really struggled with, why would anyone want to work with me, choose me? I was a teacher before I got into mortgage. I can barely spell mortgage correctly. And so it took a lot of soul searching, therapy, personal development coaching, business coaches to then pull out of me some of the things that either I hadn't healed from or hadn't done the inner work because I was avoiding it, which then became my uniqueness. It's what allows me to be the superhuman connector. And so on the video that I posted yesterday, I believe that we don't have just one brand. And first of all, we all have a personal brand, even our kids. We're already creating brands and we're creating signals by, you know, if I wear a Dallas Cowboys jersey, or if I post something politically, or if I'm wearing Coach Prime glasses or going to a steak restaurant. Those are signals that then is a perception for other people. So I believe we're actually building millions of brands because we don't own the brand anymore. It's in the perception of others, which doesn't mean it's true, but it's true to them of how they perceive these different signals that you give out. So yes, we can control the narrative. So to me, a brand is just the result of our actions online, offline, with everything that we do that then lives in the hearts and minds of others. So that's what I wanted to echo on the personal brand. And then also make sure that we're also looking to serve whoever our ideal client is. We sometimes spend so much time, money, energy, effort on chasing new business, and we often lose sight or maybe track that if we would just serve the person in front of us in the deepest way, like don't be lazy on the TCA. Make sure you show them new information that stretches what they knew prior to the meeting. Usually your best referral is in the cell phone of the person you're serving right now, but we don't optimize our customer experience and our service and go deeper to get into the mess with people to then provide tailored advice so that your advice actually does make a difference. So that's what I would add to both of those things that you had mentioned, Brian. Todd, I'm curious from you hearing us talk about this segment, any questions or anything you want to add?
Well, I mean, I think all of it's so relevant. Like I can go like 10 different directions, right? But I'm definitely taken back. It's funny, Brian, when you said it, because I've heard it before, right? The best person for you to serve is the person that you once were. And then Deborah, you went on and said, hey, you got to make sure whoever that person is in front of you, that you serve them at a high level. And, you know, I've heard from a lot of consumers recently that they felt like whether it was in the mortgage space or at a restaurant or wherever it was, that they didn't feel like they had that level of service. So I think it's kind of interesting, but I think when it comes back to tying it into personal brand, you know, you all have a story to tell. And so I think that's why this message is so powerful. If you can get crystal clear on that, it comes back to that whole idea of mission and vision that we talked about. If you do have a compelling vision, it's what pulls you forward, right? And that I think is where the loan officers that I'm talking to right now are struggling is that their vision is a little dull, right? Who they thought they were because of, you know, 18 to 24 months of lower production has kind of bruised that self-image and that self-respect. And it's a matter of, I think you have to reignite that vision that you have. And then, so I would be thinking about that. I'm going to go watch your personal brand video, Deborah, that you just posted up. So I'm excited to see that, since Plug and Play SM is my personal team that helps me with my social media. So I'm going to check that out. But it's that's a ramble, but that's a lot of food for thought. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, make sure everybody clicks and watches that. And if you don't, follow Deborah, click, watch it, and give it a like. Help her with the algorithms, guys. She's putting amazing content out there. So please click on that. It's in chat. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'll have a link to that Deborah, that video that Deborah called out. It's an Instagram link. Wow. So I want to give a takeaway that I got. And at the same time, I really want to wrap it around. People don't pay for your information. They pay for how you organize it in the application. So before I give my commentary on that, I want everybody in chat right now, this was a question from Phil Jones to the audience. Is it a good time to buy a house right now? Should you buy a house? Is it time? So I want everybody, you're in mortgage. Should you be buying a house right now? Should people be buying a house right now? Is it a good time to invest in real estate? And either everybody left or no one's communicating. Okay, we got one yes. Thank you,
Thank you,
Gregory.
Greg. Thank you, Scott.
Yesterday, huh, Scott? Okay, absolutely, yes.
I think here's the challenge with that question. I've never met a realtor or loan officer who said it's a bad time.
Whoa.
Okay, all right, let's let people. All right, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, okay,
Yeah,
sorry. I
yeah,
didn't mean to get ahead of your
yeah.
lesson here,
The
Dave.
bar can swing. It was Phil Jones, like, again, he's such a great communicator, and he's like, and everybody's, yes, absolutely. And the answer is, someone was at the event, Galen, maybe. And it really made me pause, because so often we're taught I was gonna go, like, it is a great time to buy. Like, the wealth gap in America is who owns and who rents, and the sooner you get into home ownership, the better. And if you want to move up, like, there's lifestyle needs, you can afford to move up. Is waiting the right thing to do? Probably not. But where the gold is, it's how do you organize that information? Like, people know what appreciation rates are intellectually. They know a lot of these things intellectually. And this is an ode to MortgageCoach. Like, when you put and organize that information for a consumer, hey, what are your assumptions? What are rates? What would a future refi look like? And you organize that and you put it into an application. That's where all the value is. Now I'll let you go. I just wanted to.
No, but that's really it, right? I mean, it's the whole idea of curiosity, right? And, it's one of those things that, again, it comes back to the perspective where we started off, right? I mean, we all have a perspective, and, but we do approach oftentimes in our business, conversations with our clients with a lack of curiosity, because we're just assuming because they call us about a mortgage that they should be buying a house. And that is probably one of the biggest things that I've learned from the time that I've spent, the last couple of years with Phil, alongside of Deborah, and, really just trying to figure out how to dig deeper in conversations. And for me, I've always said it, my biggest impact has been personally just being more curious with my kids, because my kids are very opinionated, and with my wife and with my friends and family, and just digging a little bit deeper in conversations. So I do think it's been really big, and it's really one of the spots that when Deborah and I do our certifications, we really dig in and spend a lot of time on.
Yeah. And by the way, everybody watching this, if you were at the Forward event, either give us a reaction. I want to just get a vibe for how many people were there, or put a comment in that I was there. If you were there and you had a favorite speaker, would love to know that in comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you were there and you really had a favorite speaker, let us know who it was.
Deborah's comment real quick, I want to call it out. She's put a comment in there that it's easier to do this when you're emotionally detached from the outcome. And I think it is really hard. We talked about here for years, commission breath, right? And right now, when you have less leads coming in, I do overhear loan officers selling really hard versus being a consultant and doing the things. One of the things that you said last Friday, Dave, on the call, which was a mindset change for me, was you said that we should be using a TCA to show every borrower their net worth, how it's going to increase in 5 years. And so someone who, when I did loans, literally I got MortgageCoach my first day of the business. It's not a lie. And, almost every client I had over my career got a TCA. And yes, I did do that sometimes, but it wasn't always. And I do think that is really key as we go into this next, as we go forward, especially with the mission we have with First Home IQ, is really helping people understand how home ownership can build wealth, even not just the long term. It's hard for someone to envision in 30 years or in 15 years, but really that 5-year window, I think, is just a huge opportunity for us to do that. And so I think, go back to what Deborah said. I mean, you all need more loans to close, right now, to live the lifestyle you want to live. And, don't get me wrong, I have such a heart for that. However, just remember what the mission is, that's to serve the client. And when you serve the client, guess what? More stuff just comes your way. And I love what you said, Deborah, that the next referral that you need is probably in that person's phone. So I thought that was great too.
Yeah. And I love what Scott Payne said. He said, I wasn't there in person, but there was so much quality social media stories and posts. He got value. So that's awesome. Be valuable on social media and follow people that are valuable to you. So Brian, unpack when you go to an event like that. I just described your note-taking process. When did you sit down to put things in action, and what are a few of the things that you've taken from that event and put into action?
I love it. We're going to rapid fire. I'm going to move fast because I want to give you guys the value, and it's really difficult to do all of that 2.5 kind of days in a quick one, but I'm going to give it to you very quickly. The first one I took immediate action on was Neil's presentation about the ultimate webinar.
Whoa,
The ultimate webinar.
I wanna be sure, how extensive were your notes, and were they handwritten or typed?
I have a
Okay,
whole
handwritten.
book of
How many
probably
pages?
handwritten. I'm a handwritten
Okay.
guy. I love to take handwritten notes. And then Dave, my process is very simple. Then at the end of the day, I go back and I take the one action item, which for me was a couple of action items the first day that I needed to immediately implement. The webinar piece was so good, Dave. I immediately got on the phone with one of my team members and said, we have 2 webinars next week. Here are 3 things we need to clean up and improve on to make them better than they were going to be. Like that's how quick. If you want to know my process is, I like to implement, and I believe the speed of implementation favors people that implement quicker win more, right? Like today, if you're thinking I need to do more TCAs, yeah, you do. You need to implement that and do that today, not next Monday. You need to do it today. You want to get better in your health? Go work out and eat better now, today. Like I just believe in that. So Dave, I wrote down the ultimate webinar, immediately implemented some things in ours, and I'll tell you what they were, was our follow-up process. We're in Zoom. We didn't have the reminders set up at the same stage. And Neil talked about you have to remind people 5 days before, 4 days before, 3 days before, all the way up into the event, an hour before, text messages. And I will tell you guys, we don't run the biggest webinars. You probably saw me promoting them on social, but both of those webinars this week, I think one of them had 50 people, one of them had under 30 people. The people that I was doing them with, we already got leads, referrals, we've got business from it. And Dave, I was able to adapt and make the webinars better. Now, as a result of that, I took action. And so we've come up with now what we're coining as Wednesday or winning Wednesday webinars. So winning Wednesday webinars. We're like, dude, these are great. I can do these once a week. I can bring value. I can bring on guests. And so my framework of that changed immediately. Now, here's what I'm going to share with you that Neil gave me was you have to capture attention. So people are going to want to attend. You have to get people to attend the event, right? So that's your follow-up on what's there. When they get there, you have to motivate them, right? There has to be some type of motivation of what you're wanting them to do within that. And then the last one, you get really good at the first 3, you'll be able to monetize. So again, that was capture. You need to capture attention, which is your marketing. Get people to attend, which is your follow-up and your processes and your systems. Motivate, which is your energy. If you show up on a webinar, Dave, if you and Todd and Deb showed up on this webinar and you're like, so happy to be here. It's Friday. Guys, bring the energy. There's a countdown timer Neil talked about. Dave was one of the tactics that we're implementing 5 minutes before the webinar starts. I can send it to you. It's on YouTube, by the way. You click the video, it has energy, it has a countdown, has a little bit of an excitement to it that's there. For some of our guests, I found out they have a hype reel, right? So we had Renee Rodriguez, which everybody knows and loves in our community. We kicked off the webinar this week, 2-minute hype video. It got the room ready to receive the information. So those were some strategies that we went through immediately. I expect these are going to continue to grow and be a source of our business, not just for leads, referrals, but obviously we're building a team. You know, I help recruit and do all that kind of stuff. And so I see that, Dave. How do I go to the market and add value, organize information, and give them application of information? The webinar is a way for me to help organize what I'm learning and what I'm doing, give it to them in a format and fashion that they can apply it. I know it's a lot coming at you, but I want to give you like just tactic.
How many people are doing webinars monthly, weekly, yearly? Never. So just give me a feel on this. And then Todd, before you go, I want to give context to this because so Neil hired some really heavyweight speakers. And so most of the content was these, professional, absolutely incredible speakers. And he only had one session. So here's the guy that owns the event, co-owns the event, and he had one opportunity to go up and deliver a lesson. And I don't know if it was 30 or 45 minutes. And he could have spoke about anything. But he decided that he was going to go and teach people why to do a webinar and how to do a webinar. So first of all, to me, that's something to make note of. One of the most successful, if not the most successful coach, trainer, event promoter in the mortgage industry. He had one chance to teach and he got to choose what it was, and it was do webinars. So first of all, I want everybody to have that context. And then I was surprised. I sat next to Kelly Zitlow because obviously I do a lot of webinars. Like that is one of the ways I have built Mortgage Coach and everything I've done. And I'm like, Kelly, you do a lot of webinars, right? She's like, no, not that many. I'm like, what? And so if you're listening to this, wake up call, guys, because when you do a webinar, you're building a database of people to communicate with. You're delivering a structured edu-sell experience, like whatever you sell and make money for a living, you're educating and selling. So I just wanted to give that context. Todd?
Well, I just wanted to call out the thing that Brian said that really resonates with me. I'm a person, I always joke, if I was in my office, I've got this drawer in my bottom left, and it's notes from all these different events I've gone to all over the years, and the list of like the 12 things I wanted to do that never got done. And so what Brian said is I pick one thing a day, and here he said he picked a couple, but he's a high level executor. So those of you who aren't high level executors, you have to think of pick one thing, right? I think one of the challenges that I talk to Dave a lot about in this community is we put out so much content. We interview amazing people like Brian, and we have Deborah here every week, and we have all these great ideas, and you all just need to pick one thing this week and execute on that. You can have the list of the 100 things you want to execute on, right? I just call that a brain dump and have this idea list. And it's just one of the things that I keep in the front of my planner and I add to continually as I go. And then I just go through it and I prioritize those and pick what's most important. And, you know, if it's only you, then guess what? You have to be the one who can execute at that level on your own. If you've got a team, then you've got to get good at how do you then have them help you implement and execute. So just be thinking about that. What's the one thing that you can work on between now and Monday that'll help move your business forward? Because Brian just gave us a textbook example of how he did it with webinars.
Yeah, and I want to give you one more bonus, because many people miss this in conversations I had afterwards, and I don't want you to miss this, is when you start to do webinars, there's other huge piece to your business. Most of us struggle with creating content that has substance value. We've talked about that. Looks like you're building your brand. As you do a webinar, you're able to go back and you're able to clip that up. You can make clips from your webinar on something you taught or a question that was asked from someone during the webinar. You can now use that, and you've multi-purposed your time on the webinar to create content. Because the chances are somebody that asked that question, there's about 10, 50, 100, 1,000 people in your network that have the same question. You've answered it. You've done it one time. You create the clip. You share the clip. It gets out to more people. This is how you exponentially grow your time, guys. This is how it's done.
Well, I want to show a way in which I am implementing what you said just now to be more valuable to you guys. So everything I do on social media, I want to be valuable to mortgage and real estate professionals so that they can be more valuable to home buyers, homeowners, realtors, financial advisors. And so here's something that we do. And here's something that I just launched. If you go to the 10X page, we recently updated it. So it's got a whole new group. You know, we put the most recent interview with Daniel Saw right here. Actually, Deborah Bird, or excuse me, not Deborah Bird, Denise Donahue. It's going to be shared right here. There's an interview I did with her this year that I think is just a must watch. But if you scroll down, there's a new playlist in our YouTube channel. It's called Sales Training Clips. So like when I interviewed Daniel Saw, we took 1 minute. What's his value proposition? When I interviewed Jeremy, 1 minute. What's his value proposition? And then created this library of sales clips so that you guys have those, like all of the mortgage coaches out there, all of the producing managers that are training loan officers. We've got these 1 minute to 5 minute clips that you can use for training. So love that idea. I think it was Deborah's turn. Deborah hasn't got to talk for a while. Anything you want to debrief on what he said or questions you want to ask Brian?
Yes, I would say the real flex to that is when you're so good at what you do and what you deliver on a webinar, is if the future of your marketing department are your clients and your partners who attend these things, and they are creating the social proof for you by tagging you and putting clips. Like all of you right now could do that and take a photo and thank Brian and his time and his wisdom, and Todd and Dave. And so that's the real flex. But the other piece I want to tie together is with Neil's segment is he talked about how right now there's a lot of coaches who talk about more output, like do more calls on Mondays. And he was like, no, wait, let's just focus on better output. And then he gave the analogy of, you could continue doing what you're doing and make it kneecap to kneecap, which is like cutting grass with scissors. And I don't know why, but I started to picture Neil like out there cutting grass with scissors. Or you could go to one to many, which is getting a lawnmower. And this is exactly how you scale your time. So for him, and for most of you who know, like he's committed to video. It really changed his business when he started doing more video. But he had an aha moment when he was like, wait a minute, the average watch time on a reel is 16 seconds. And he knew that time spent with you is trust. And he was like, a webinar is 3,600 seconds. So if I can get people to show up to a webinar, you look at, that watch time in comparison to how many reels you would have to post. Not that you shouldn't be doing reels. This is where you need to be hitting people from all angles. And it's not just one thing usually. That was like the bigger why of what caused him to go deeper on this webinar journey. And for Plug and Play SM clients, we do 2 webinars every month is a standard. The first Wednesday of every month is agent focused. And then the second one is client consumer database focused. So, but yes, his webinar, he called it the ultimate webinar strategy. It was fantastic.
It was legit.
Well,
I want to add to that, Deborah, they've actually, Hermosi came up and said, 16, if you're really good. For most of us, the reality is I looked at mine, it's 7 and 8 seconds. You have 7 or 8 seconds to connect with people on those reels, and then you move through. And then there's a piece, Dave, if I can add, I don't want to interrupt the flow, but I think it parlays perfectly with what Hermosi
special
shared.
guest, bro.
Okay, cool. I want to give you guys as much value. You're here, and I want to give you this. Hermosi talked about this, Deb, and you just hit me with it perfectly over this. He talked about ROE, return on effort. Return on effort. I don't track that. I now am aware of it, and so I can't unsee it. And he talked about this. Your effort, you only have so much time in a day. You only have so many things. And Deb, when you talked about, everybody says, you just got to put more hours in. You just got to do more of this. He talked about this in his business, and what's made him super successful is identifying what is the one thing in your business that moves the ball down the field closer to a conversation, closer to a referral, ultimately closer to helping someone close on their loan. And I started to look at my business. I'm like, well, I don't know what that is today. Like, what is the thing that moves it down the field? And what he said is most people, if they had 10 widgets, right, or 10 blocks of energy, they would disperse it across 10 different things. How many times have you found yourself, I'm going to do this webinar, I'm going to make this sales call, I'm going to put some social media over here, I'm going to make these phone calls, I'm going to follow up my database, like you're all over the place. He said, slow down, take a minute and look at where do you really get results in your business? He said, once you identify those things, again, using the time and the energy piece, if you have something that really, really works well, like you're phenomenal at face-to-face, when you get face-to-face with a real estate agent or a customer, you convert like super high. When you do TCAs, man, your conversion skyrockets through there. And what he shared is you need to take that one thing and 10x it. And so Dave, when you put the 10x piece, it just got me thinking all this goes together, and you're going to do that thing so well that you become a master at it, and you do more of that thing, because many of us get distracted. And Rory talked about this is diluted focus gets you diluted results. Diluted focus means we're out here, we're doing this, I'm doing that, I'm chasing down this condition, now I'm doing that, and like I'm just living in chaos. When we get very focused on the things that move our business forward towards that ultimate result and goal that we have, we no longer have diluted focus. And so when Hermosi talked about this, he gave us a process I want to share with you guys. It was 3 Ps. Proof. For all of you today, you have testimonials, you have customers that would write them for you if you don't have them. You have people that have sent you emails, you have customers that, heck, maybe they'd even do a video for you, right? Like you have proof of the amount of loans you've done. You have proof of the amount of pre-quals and pre-approvals you have in your database today. If you were to meet to a realtor that mattered, you have proof of the amount of TCAs you've done. Customers want proof. Realtors want proof. Then you can move in, what is the promise? What makes you unique in your market? What helps you stand out? What is the promise by working with you above anyone else in your market? It's going to make you different, right? And you can leverage, hey, I use a TCA. Here's my process that we're looking at, not just your situation today, but 5 and 10 years down the road. We're going to help you focus on your net worth. Net worth is the game. How much do you understand building your net worth and how having a home and owning a home plays into that, right? You get into that world. The last part of the P's is plan. Do you have a plan? And this goes back to applying and organizing information. Do you have a plan in which you can take them from their point A to the desired point B? If you can do that, you're going to have the proof, you have the promise, you have the plan. You will rock, you will crush any goal, anything you have. And so I am taking that back, Dave. We're teaching our team, we're putting it in stuff I'm doing and looking at, I don't share enough proof. My promise isn't clear. My plan needs to be tightened up. Like that's the stuff I'm looking at going, I can get better.
And you know what is the one thing that every loan officer on this call can do? And if you did this one thing, you would check all 3 of those boxes. It is a mortgage coach total cost analysis. And if you had Denise Donahue, she talks about doing weekly wealth stories. Guys, a weekly wealth story is proof that you give advice. It is a process to deliver a promise that I help you do more than just do a loan. And it is a real estate plan. Like, I think, Deborah, weren't you in the audience when we heard that takeaway? You were texting me about it. Like, what's your take on that?
That is the proof. It's the wealth stories. People want to, they want to see that you've worked with other people like them and you were able to solve the thing that they're struggling with or looking to have solved. And then, this is something that Todd and I had interviewed an author that co-authored a book with Phil Jones who called Prove It. And so every Tuesday for my clients, you're creating content to prove that you are who you say you are and that you'll do what you say you'll do, because talk is cheap. Everybody's an expert. Everybody's a guru. There's no real credentials anymore. There's a lot of noise. How can people trust you? And they want to see the evidence. That's what they're going to. And they look at your social, they're looking for that proof. Prove to me you're going to honor your word and that other people like me have had success through you.
And y'all look at your own shopping habits, right? Look at your own habits, right? I mean, I go to Yelp and I read reviews on restaurants, right? I go to Amazon and I read reviews on products that I'm looking to buy. And so what you just got there from Deborah and Brian is the Hermosi framework on things to be thinking through that you can easily, you already have these things. Now you just have to figure out, how do I actually put this in front of the people that I'm trying to do business with to steal it, to say move them from their point A to your point B that you're trying to get them to go down that path. So that was super, super powerful, Brian. Thank you for giving the insight on that.
So guys, I want to give you guys the first peekaboo into something that Win by Noon is launching. And I just couldn't resist because, Brian, you made a comment that people don't pay for information, they pay for how it's organized and applied. And with Todd, we've collaborated on the Modern Mortgage Summit for 5 years.
2020,
Since 2020, we've done 7 of them. 5 of them for mortgage professionals. It's all micro content, like 5 minutes to 15-minute, just easy to consume. Some of the best teachers in both mortgage and real estate. We've done 3 or 4 real estate events, and Todd is going to be, and I'm collaborating with him. Kristen Messerly and First Home IQ is collaborating, and it's called Modern Mortgage IQ. And that is a community. It's going to be the industry's first digital mastermind platform, where all that content will be organized in a way that's valuable for you, and it will be applicable in a way for you. If you're a producing manager, it'll be like a sales training in a box. If you want to go out to realtors, it'll be training. So if you want to get on the waiting list, I just put a link in chat, go to modernmortgageiq.com and just get on the waiting list, and we'll be announcing it more in the coming weeks. Anything you want to say about that?
No, I mean, I'm just super stoked. I mean, it's something that we've been talking about for a really long time, and to actually do what we're talking about here today. We took action and we're making it happen. And I feel like it's overdue. It's something that the industry's needed. It's what I wanted as a loan officer. And I feel like it'll be just a great opportunity to help people get through the activities that they know they need to do in a faster and easier way.
Yeah. And my mission for a long time is the founder of Mortgage Coach and now the Chief Innovation Officer of Trust Engine is to turn loan officers into mortgage coaches. And it's never been more important that loan officers are data-driven mortgage coaches. And they're also helping realtors become data-driven real estate advisors. And so obviously my full-time job is Trust Engine, Chief Innovation Officer, creating a tech platform. Be sure to check out our new mobile app. It is an enterprise-only solution, but get on the waiting list. Like, this is going to be an incredible new platform. It's going to have all the content from the Modern Mortgage Summit and the Modern Real Estate Summit, and it's going to be organized in a way for you to get better personally, for you to turn realtors into modern real estate advisors, and to upgrade your entire team. So check it out. Brian, any closing thoughts, brother?
Yeah, what an honor. And thank you guys, as always. I'm always truly humbled by this, because I learn as I get to come and share, right? And so as we're sharing back and forth and we're jamming, I want you guys to think about that feeling, and what you experienced today is these type of conversations are what move you, your customers, your referral partners further towards success. And one of my coaches shared with me years ago, Dave, it stuck with me, is good coaches can help you get results. Great coaches can change your life. And I think about you when you talk about that, like that modern mortgage coach, the person that can actually see someone where they are and help them get to where they want to go, is going to change the game. And I'll leave with this. Gary Vee talked about this short window we have that you guys heard. He said it's 7 to 10 years possibly, that those who have built a personal brand and build a personal brand will have such separation between those that don't. And he talked about the excuses, Dave, and I've got excuses of why I haven't done this. Why haven't I done that? And he went through them and he said, none of them are valid. None of those excuses are helping you get there. And if you want X, you will do Y. And he led with this piece at the end. He talked about, think about in your week, he called it dumb stuff, but I'll just say the things that are distracting you from your goal. What if you were to replace some of that? I didn't say all of it, some of that, with the actions and activities that we talked about today that would get you closer to your goal. Attack the day, win the day, right? That is the game that we play every day. We get a chance to show up, compete, and serve people. When you become service-centered over self-centered, you can't lose.
I love that. Service-centered over self-centered. That's definitely something for me to ponder on. I don't know about the rest of you.
Close it out one by one.
Oh, you know what? I feel like we needed 2 hours with you, Brian. So we'll definitely have to, we can't wait as long as we waited since the last time we've had you in here. And, I would just tell you, it's a great day to make it a great day, right? You all, depending on where you are in the country, it's either morning or early afternoon. And I feel like we all have a little more time right now than we want to admit that we have. And so I would just take a couple of minutes, take out a blank piece of paper, and then write down on one half of it, write down a takeaway or two from today, or all the takeaways you had from today, right? I've got a full page here of my takeaways, and I've already separated out a couple of action items. And then also, don't hesitate to then, on the other side, just the other things that have been on your brain, the other things that you've been pondering for the last week or month or year that you're thinking about, and then just go through and just prioritize them, A, B, and C, right? Like, what do I want to work on now? You can put a time, like what's going to be the easiest to implement, but the bottom line is you need to pick one thing, right? Not 2 or 3, and then work on it today, work on it over the weekend. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but I think it's just the difference is implementation. I mean, you guys said it, speed, or you said it, Brian, speed of implementation matters. The people who implement are the ones who win more. And it's just one of those things where if I'm talking to my younger self like I'm supposed to be, that was my struggle as a loan officer, is I had all these cool things that everyone else did that I wanted to do, and I wasn't good at implementing because I was trying to implementing them all at the same time, or I was trying to implement it perfectly. So it's okay to implement imperfectly. You just got to get it going, and you can fine tune it over time. And today's the day to start. And you know what? It's a beautiful Friday afternoon. Dave's got his door open here. We're excited to be doing some strategic planning, but I think you have an opportunity. Look at your calendar, block off an hour or two to work on this today. And as always, it's fun to be here. And it's great to be here side by side with you.
Good to be here. So guys, my closing thought is be default aggressive. The most successful people are the best implementers. When I interviewed Daniel Saw, he talked about how he's communicating his unique value proposition, but it's how he's executing that. And if you're a manager, it's how your team is executing that at scale that matters. So default aggressive. whatever the items are, get them focused, take action, have a kick-ass weekend. Brian Covey, dude, you are the man. By the way, Neil did want to come. Somehow I did not get him the link in time. And literally the last 4 minutes, he's like, hey, where's the link? So we are going to be scheduling something with Neil, and can't recommend enough, guys. We'll put a link in chat to the event. This is an event you want to put in your calendar. Put in your calendar. If you can buy a ticket, buy it today. Whenever the tickets go on sale, check it out. Take care,
All right,
everybody.
Deborah Bird, see ya.
Thanks for
Bye.
everything, Deborah.